Hello everyone, it's Christine here and I'm back for our stitch along and we are going to be doing eyelet stitch and we've got a couple of other variations coming up as well, an eyelet flower and a shaped eyelet. So I've just spelt out eyelet using backstitch, and then I've worked one eyelet myself on this side because I wanted to get used to this new technique. I've not actually made eyelets before. So you'd be familiar with them from the traditional broderie anglaise or Swiss embroideries, and they're also used in Madeira and Venetian embroidery. So the book, the A to Z of embroidery stitches, suggests that we use a dressmaker's awl, but I don't have one of those, and particularly on holidays I don't have one of those. So what I'm going to do is make my hole using a needle first and then using a knitting needle to widen it up. So with the hole, you want to work carefully. You just want to pierce the fabric, but you just want to gently separate the fibers. So I'm just going to start by putting my needle into it and sort of wiggling it around a little bit, wiggling it around. So I've started to make the hole, and then I've got my I've got one wooden knitting needle with me because I use this when I'm actually separating my hexies from their little Epiflex templates. So that's why I have one wooden knitting needle with me, and I'm just going to gradually work my wooden knitting needle into the hole right up to the sort of widest part on it. So as you can see, that's made a little separated hole, and that's what I used on the other side. I'll put aside that needle. I'll then grab a smaller needle, and I'm just using a vintage perle cotton in a pale blue colour. This one's actually a more glistening perle that I used for the lettering. So I'm just going to, I'm not going to tie a knot on this. I'll actually use the other end because I've just made the thread split at that opposite end. There we go, that's better. Just cut that end off that got a bit. Okay, so I'm going to pop through just outside of where my circle is. Actually, I'll start on this side because we just want to leave about a 3mm tail. I'll leave it slightly longer just so I've got something to hold on to start. And then we're just going to work around and just do some narrow little running stitches all the way around. Just slightly outside of where your hole is, like a couple of, maybe 1mm or 2mm outside of where the hole is, probably 1mm. And then just quite narrow little running stitches. Hopefully I've still got enough light in here. I don't have my normal lights that I use, but hopefully you can see it starting to come into the late afternoon. So with your last stitch, when you get round the circle, try not to gather it up like I just did there. You want to take your needle through your piece of thread that's poking out, that sort of 3mm piece, and you want to pierce that piece, split it. So you want to actually take your needle down to the back through that piece, and then I'm going to just trim that little piece down as well. So what I'm now going to do is I'll re-pierce the hole with my knitting needle, and then I'll bring my needle to the front of the fabric, just outside the first running stitch. So I'm just going to pop out there, and then I'm going to take my needle through the pierced hole and just bring it up alongside that first stitch that I've done just to the right, and then hold the emerging thread to your left and come up just to the right of that stitch. And we're just going to then work our way around doing overcast stitches all the way around. I hope you're having a great day or a great evening. Hopefully you might be stitching away while you watch this, or joining us in our live chat if you're able to. Haven't yet worked out if I can actually do a full live where I'm actually stitching at the same time as the video is playing. The premieres are where I've already recorded the video, but then I can join in the chat because yeah, the video plays and I can type away. Whereas if I was obviously stitching and trying to monitor the chat at the same time, I don't know how I'd go with that. I think I might need some assistance if I'm to give that a go at some point. So I'll stick with the premieres for now. And also there's those times when things just don't quite go to plan, and I'm sure that would be the time that I'm on a live, whereas at least if you video, you can kind of go back and refilm something if you need to, or cut out the bits where it's just, yeah, where things go astray. Like when you get a knot on the back of your work, but usually you can sort that out pretty promptly. So just working the way around, just making those little stitches coming through from the center, the hole, and then popping out just outside where the running stitch is. And just holding your thread always to the left to keep it out of the way when you're doing your little stitches. And you'll want to sort of just rotate it around like I'm doing as I go. It just makes it easier to get the stitches where they need to be. Oops. Okay, and it's amazing to think with the broderie anglaise fabric, which has so many of these eyelets in it, like the hand-stitched versions of it, not the machine-made ones. Yeah, just amazing to think how many stitches went in to create just one little hole. Really does make you appreciate things when you kind of try the old style techniques and realise just how much is in them. That's why I do love picking up my vintage linens and things, because they are, yeah, they're an amazing, they are artworks, and at some point they'll be rare artworks. So we're just not doing those handcrafts en masse anymore. So just move that stitch over a little bit. Does definitely help holding the thread just slightly to the left so that you don't get a it's quite hard to push through when you're getting around to here because there's a lot of stitches in place. Just get that little stitch there where we're now going over that little tail. So this is quite important because that will hold that little tail fully in place. Sorry, that's the dishwasher emptying out. That gurgling sound, if you can hear it. Okay. So then we're going to take our thread to the back, and we will tie it off by running it under our stitches at the back. So whichever way you want to kind of take it around. I'll probably take it through a couple just to make sure it holds securely after all that work. You don't want it coming out. So I'll pick up a few more stitches. Oops, there we go. Then I can cut that off, and then it suggests that we take our awl, or our, in my case, the knitting needle, through from the back, and they say this just helps to settle the fabric and the eyelet. As you can see, my first stitch was slightly uneven up the top, but I don't mind that. It's like a little pointing eyelet. It's kind of cute, actually. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. I think my first one was maybe even neater than the second. So we'll be coming back tomorrow and doing an eyelet flower. So I'll probably work around, maybe I'll work around this one, and yeah, do the little stitches to make that into a flower. And then after that, we'll be doing, the following day, we'll do a shaped eyelet. So you'll want to have a bit of room on your fabric. So thanks so much for watching, folks, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.